Well, hello, everybody. If you are in the Kansas City area or the Midwest, you will know that today, with all the drizzle, light rain, this is a perfect kind of weather to talk about Ireland, Scotland, Wales, and England. Sometimes called Great Britain, sometimes called the British Isles, sometimes called the United Kingdom. There's a lot of differences in all those. It's been fun. But the one thing I can tell you, that is a popular destination right now, maybe more than ever, which is pretty interesting to me. And I have to believe that maybe the war in Ukraine has a lot to do with that. I think a lot of people want to go on an international vacation and view a place like the British Isles, Great Britain, that speak English, they're farther away, and it's safe. So I think there's no doubt about it. But Ireland and Scotland, for the 33 years we've been in business, my gosh, have always been popular, as has England. Now, Wales, I can't wait to talk to Robin Piper, our representative from the Globus family of brands. We're going to find out whether Wales has become a little more popular. But the one thing that you're going to learn today that I just love about all the tours that the Globus family of brands is doing in that Great Britain, those 4 countries, is twofold. One is the must-see tours. I call it the most popular tours, where you see all the big cities that you've heard so much about, you know, London, Edinburgh, whatever you like to call it, Glasgow, Dublin, Stonehenge, places like that, maybe even Bath, whatever. But there's so many places in those 4 countries that are smaller, littler, more unknown places. And more travelers, especially the well-traveled people, are wanting to go to those undiscovered smaller places. And we're seeing that a lot. So with that said, I'm going to introduce Robin Piper. I'm Mark Comfort, of course. I think most of you know me or know of me, and my wife, Mimi. And Robin, welcome to Cruise Holidays Kansas City Comfort Tours. Isn't this weather out here somewhat indicative of Ireland and Scotland every now and then? England?
It's a little reminiscent, but I actually, when I went a couple of years ago, I went in June and we had like 12 hours of sunlight. So, you know, there are lots of different weather patterns that happen in that area. So,
well, that's true. Honestly, that's true everywhere. We get our share of the rain here in spring. Every place does, but that's why it's so green and beautiful over there.
Absolutely. So when we decided to have this event a couple of months ago, we were talking about just what you said. Where are people still interested in going right now? And we have typically Italy and Ireland kind of vie for the top spot with what we're selling overall. And really, Ireland and Scotland both have become so popular that I thought this was just a really good opportunity for us to talk about what you can see and different styles of travel. So we're going to just say yes to some new adventures, and I hope you will as well. So just real quick, whoops, want to make sure I can change my slides. Okay, so many of you have known the Globus family of brands for quite some time. Many of you have traveled with us, and I won't bore you with all that great information, but I do want to remind you of a couple really important things. This is first class touring with superior and first class hotel choices. They're going to be in the heart of the destination. Why is that important? Well, because you do have free time. And when you have that free time, we want you to be able to walk out your door and get a coffee. We want you to be able to sit in a cafe or find a pub. And we also want you to be able to, you know, do a little sightseeing, maybe some shopping. So we work very hard to make sure that the hotel is in a great spot. The other great thing is we have all that skip the line, the VIP access. So this is my favorite part. It's always interesting to see other people who don't have that option when they're booking on their own, and then we go straight to the front of the line. I always wish I could like grab one of them and like adopt them for the tour, but that's so important because while you're not standing in line and you're getting to go in early in many cases, that gives you that free time that we all want. That's part of that vacation. And of course, I cannot say enough about our tour directors and our local guides and our drivers. They are so excited to see more folks traveling, and so that they can share their stories and their love of the countries they represent. So this is all kind of what we've been known for over the last 90 years, and we're going strong, and we hope to be here for another 90 years. So I wanted to talk about this first tour. This is Intro to Ireland, and it's a great 7-day departure. And the nice part about it is it will fit in, if you only have a week to be gone, it will fit into that, and you'll be able to, travel over the weekend and get to the tour and then travel home. So that's very nice. You don't have to take extra days off. What I loved about this itinerary as well is all the different things that we get to cover, right? You'll get to go to St. Patrick's Cathedral, which those stained glass windows are just amazing. I mean, this picture doesn't even give them half the justice. I mean, they're so ornate and so intricate. I wanted to be sure that I included a photograph. And then, of course, the Blarney Castle. Pretty much all of our tours to Ireland go to the Blarney Castle. It is a crowd pleaser. And you're actually, that castle that you see in the background, there is a winding staircase that you will go up before it's open to anybody else. And then if you dare, you can actually lay down and kiss the Blarney Stone. It is supposed to give you the gift of gab. And my husband always asks, how many times did you kiss that stone? But I do like to talk about travel. So today I hope I'm in good company. Then of course you'll have lots of great pubs and bars. The Temple Bar, the Temple Bar is really one of the most recognizable pubs in the world. And then of course we'll also go to the Rock of Castle, and that was where St. Patrick preached. So that has, it's in ruins, of course, but it has a great story behind it, and you might already be familiar with some of it, but I bet your local guide can tell you some things that you don't know. And then of course, whenever you're in Ireland, you have to try a Guinness. So you'll probably try 1 or 2 Guinness. I bet Mark is a fan of Guinness when in Ireland. So these are just some of the things that you'll see on Introduction to Ireland. It is a really, quick and easy way, lots of extra 2-night stays, so you're not quite at such a fever pitch. But then we also have some other great itineraries. This one is one of my favorites, this Emerald Isle. And it actually covers more ground than what Intro to Ireland does, but it's a 10-day itinerary. And this beautiful castle is just one of the things that you'll be able to go into and visit. And I'm having here we go. Sorry about that. There we go. There are so many things that you get to do on this tour. Some of them that you do on the Intro to Ireland, like all of our tours will include Trinity College. And if you're not familiar with Trinity College, maybe you've heard of the Book of Kells. That is all on that premises. And then this little red garden, not a garden, the little red bridge. Thank you, Mark. You didn't know we were playing that password games. That is one of the Japanese gardens that's on property of another castle. So that's lovely. And then the Flying Boat Museum. Mark, have you ever done the Flying Boat Museum?
No, I haven't. I'd like to, though, but I have done the Guinness, to your point.
Yeah, it's really interesting, and it has several different areas, but it really just sort of talks about the rise of flight. And so it's an aerospace kind of museum. And then I was putting this presentation together, and can you tell I was a little hungry? I've got 3 pictures of food. But you do have a choice to do a cooking class when you're in Rathburn, and it will actually teach you'll make your scones, and then they'll bake them for you, and then you come back and they give you this beautiful jam and preserves, and then some Irish butter, and it is just amazing. What I love about that too is, the way that they put them in the oven, Mark, you're like, well, I don't want the ones that Robin made, I want mine. And so they make these little markers so you know which ones were yours. And if you're gluten-free, we can actually provide you with gluten-free as well. So you don't have to miss out on the fun. Irish stew, oh my gosh, that was one of the, on a day like this to have some Irish stew, Mark, wouldn't that be fantastic? So you'll get that with the Guinness inside, and it's really, I mean, so yummy. And then also you want to check out Shepherd's Pie. We actually, when you're doing any of our tours that go to the Ring of Kerry, we actually stop in this little, it's just like a building, and it doesn't, doesn't look fancy, but you go in and they make the best Irish stew. And if I recall, it was about the equivalent of $5. It was a great meal, and I wish I could have taken some home to my husband, but it was quite yummy. All right. And then I do apologize. We are just having some clicker problems. There we go. Now, Mark, we've talked about this new style of travel. Do you remember when we were talking about the choice touring?
Mhm.
So when we introduced this within the last year, we decided, well, we didn't decide, our customers told us that they wanted to have more choices. So the name Choice Touring evolved into 13 different itineraries. We have one in Ireland, and it has a great name. It's called Green with Envy, Ireland by Design, and it's a 9-day tour going from Dublin, starting and ending in Dublin. Now, everywhere you see one of those little orange markers, that's a Your Choice Day. And on the Your Choice Day, you get to pick from 2 to 3 different itinerary excursions that allow you to explore in a way that you're interested in. So we'll still see all the must-see sites when we're in Dublin and at Rathburn Farms, where we do the cooking class, and you'll still have, your driver will take you around the Cliffs of Moher. But in addition, you will have these Your Choice days. So this is day 4. This will be in Westport. So you have a couple of choices. You have take it easy and do a e-bike tour through Westport, which it's a charming little place. I mean, it really is quite lovely. Or you could do a trek, and you could go explore the Achill Islands. And so that's kind of 2 different pictures there of how that area looks. So it's very interesting. You don't necessarily think about a beach when you think about Ireland, but of course they do have those. Or you can learn how to make Irish soda bread. And that's what you see over here in this yummy picture as well. So those are all your choices, and they don't cost you anything extra. So if you're traveling with a family member or a group of friends or even family, and one of you wants to do the e-bike and one of you wants to learn how to make soda bread, that's not a problem. They're already included, already taken care of. And then that night at dinner, you can share what your day was like, right? Oh, and this one, if you can only, if you're thinking of trying to be away for 10 days, this is another great itinerary, the Essential Britain and Ireland, and it's round trip out of London. Now, this is going to be one that does have that little stop in Pembroke in Wales. Now, while Wales is a lovely country, there's just not as much to see. So you won't see, Mark, as Mark was talking about before, you won't see a tour specially dedicated to Wales, but whenever we can make a stop on an itinerary there, we definitely do. So this is another one that's going to go, it'll have England, it'll have Scotland and Ireland and Wales. So it has all 4, and it's at a pretty nice pace. You'll notice that you have a couple of different places where you have 2-night stays. And the way to know that is if you look at Edinburgh, there's a black circle with a number 2 in it. That means you stay in Edinburgh for 2 nights. And then don't forget, if you are looking to do Edinburgh and you go, I believe it's in August, and you want to see the military tattoo, which is a huge parade of all the different regiments, that is a really neat event. So if you're interested in something like that, be sure to talk to your counselor here at Cruise Holidays. They can set you all up on that. Now, I always like to kind of share some information, and all of our tours have some sort of UNESCO World Heritage Site. And I wanted to know more about how that process all started. And basically, it's this committee that they decide that that city or that area, whatever it is, it has history that we need to preserve. There's something about it that is outstanding that we don't want to change, that we don't want to tear down, we don't want to do anything to. And on this particular tour, you do 4 UNESCO World Heritage Sites. So the entire city of Bath, England, is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Then you also will be taken to the frontiers of the Roman Empire, and you can see the wall that is still kind of standing, and you'll get to hear from your local guide more information about how the Roman Empire operated in that area and in that time frame. Of course, Stonehenge, nobody knows how Stonehenge actually came to be, but it is really amazing. And so that is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. And then also in Edinburgh, there's an Old Town Edinburgh and a New Town Edinburgh, and they are both considered UNESCO World Heritage Sites. So as you're going through, your local guide will tell you all about what the different UNESCO World Heritage Sites are and why they're so important. Now we're going to move into Scotland, and I know this is one of Mark's favorite places because of the golf, right? And we all, I wouldn't say we all love golf. Golf's okay, but I know for a lot of you out there, you really do enjoy golf. So this is Bonnie, Scotland. This is one of our undiscovered tours that Mark was talking about before. It takes you a little bit off the beaten path. Now with this, you still do see, you're in Glasgow, you're in Edinburgh, and you're, in a lot of really notable cities, but then we take you to these little villages where, that might be where we go visit a home or, just different things like that, do a little circle cruise or something. So this is right there on the waterway, and it's Bonnie, Scotland, like I said, it's undiscovered, but it's also one of the most popular Scotland tours. And here you'll see why. On this tour, you get to see the Stirling Castle, which I have here, the Isle of Skye, which is absolutely gorgeous. You can actually also go to the Royal Britannica, which actually still has royals that, they're not in line to be king or anything, but they still have royals that you can actually speak to, and you can speak to the captain, which is very interesting. They'll also stop in St. Andrews, so it's great for some great shopping there at the Pro Shop. And then of course we have Loch Lomond. And so this is another one of the numerous lochs that we have on this particular tour, but a wide range of different things that you want to see on a vacation. And all in 10 days, you cover a lot of ground. Now, next up, this is a fairly new itinerary, our Scottish Highland Fling, and it covers a lot. Now, one of the reasons why Scotland is so popular is because of the Outlander series, and a lot of films, including Outlander stuff, all takes place here. A lot of films are filmed within Scotland, so we wanted to make sure you had a really good area to cover, because you won't find all these stops on all of our itineraries. But one of my favorite things, this actually stops in Inverness, and we have so many really neat itinerary options. So that's Inverness up there in the corner, the left-hand side, which I do. It's so beautiful, and the architecture, it's a little bit different than what you see in other parts of the country. I mean, even if you look at the Dunrobin Castle, that is all the same color. It's very ornate still, but it just looks different than it does in Inverness. So that is something that your local guide will tell you all about. The Orkney Islands, that's another one that this is the only itinerary that goes to those islands. And one of the reasons is that we want to take you on that little off the beaten path kind of thing. Now, if you love whiskey, when you're in Oban, we actually do make a stop at the Oban Whiskey Distillery, and sometimes we can get some tastings in, and you can certainly ship things back home or put them in your luggage, your checked luggage. And then we also spend a fair amount of time in the Highlands, and that's where you'll see this beautiful lavender, lots of green, and just gorgeous, gorgeous for your photographs. Now here's another one of those choice tours, and I know that Mark is going to love this one, because one of your choice days actually includes some golf. And so you don't have to bring your golf clubs, we'll take care of all of that. You'll just turn in your, if you're a right or a lefty, and all the things that you need, your shoes, all that's going to be included. And this is another one of those that you can see. It's got 4 different 4 days of your choice. So we've got one in Edinburgh, we've got one in Pitlochry, another one in Inverness, and then in Oban. So if you have some things that you liked from that other tour, check this tour out, because again, the optionals, there are no optionals that you have to pay for. You just get to choose. So that's kind of fun. So on day 4, you'll be in Pitlochry, and we have this great choices. We have, of course, you can gaze and you can do castle stones and tea with scones. Scones are going to be a big part of this day, whether you want them to or not. They're going to be there. You can also do a chill day and be pampered in Pitlochry. You'll have an afternoon tea, and there's some mountain area and lakes that you can kind of relax and just rejuvenate. And then you also have the play option, which is to play golf at the Tummel Valley. Now, the other thing that you can do on any of these choice days is do your own thing. So one of the things in this area is a network of hiking trails. So you can do that. And we actually have an app that you can download before you go, and it'll actually tell you where things are. So you might have some suggestions for a lunch, or it might be a really cool pub you want to go check out, or it might be a hiking tour that you want to, a hiking path that you want to check out. So that's the really cool thing about going with Globus, is that you do have that free time as well. If you want to go shopping that day, you can go shopping. There's tons of different things that you can do to make it your way on your choice day. Oh, and I love this one. I had the hardest time putting this slide together because I didn't want the map to cover up any of the beetles. So I have to apologize to Mr. Lennon, but you get the idea. And this is another one of those undiscovered tours, and this is the only tour where we go to Liverpool. And so there are some really neat spots throughout the city. If you're a Beatles fan, this is not to be missed. And it's a 9-day. You actually do a little bit of England, a little bit of Wales, and a little bit of Scotland. And for me, this is kind of the perfect trip because I still have the big cities, but then I have these very sweet little spots along the way. And most of your hotels are going to be one night stops, but we do have a couple, like in Edinburgh, where there's a little bit more to see. We want to make sure you have more time there as well. So here are a couple of your choices. Big Bend and the surrounding sites, that's something that you will see. We'll get back to Mr. Shakespeare in a minute. Also the changing of the guard in Buckingham Palace. And then of course you will go to Stratford-upon-Avon to see the birthplace of Shakespeare. Now, while I was working on this over the weekend and yesterday, my daughter, who loves to read and is going into high school, she said, do you know all the phrases we use today that were from Shakespeare? And I said, no, I really didn't. So she helped me put this slide together, common phrases that originated from the works of William Shakespeare. So it's Greek to me, what's done is done, foregone conclusion, the world is my oyster, wild goose chase, I do that quite a bit with a teenager, and in my heart of hearts. So really just sort of some interesting history there, but that slide was created by my daughter, Emma. And then let's head to London. Now, for some of you, this might be your first trip abroad. For some of you, it might be just your first trip to England, or maybe you've been there before. This is one of my favorite itineraries because you pack and unpack one time. So while you're in London at this great hotel, you have little day trips. The one day you'll go to Stratford-upon-Avon and then the Cotswolds and make another stop in Oxford before you head back to your hotel. And then the next day you'll do Stonehenge and Salisbury and come back to London. This is great because there's so many cool things to see in London at night. Between a theater trip, you might want to go see a show, hang out in Piccadilly Circus, whatever the case may be, and do some people watching. London is a great place for people watching. But of course, we've got, the London Eye, the cute, charming little homes in the Cotswold, just fabulous. Oxford University, of course. I actually went there years ago when I was in high school, and these rooms are huge. They're quite impressive. And then did you know that the underground, or their subway, is also called the Tube? So that makes it very easy to get around from point to point, because you will have some extra free time on this particular tour to do what you like. And then of course we also go back to Stonehenge on this itinerary too. Now this, I think, is our very last itinerary, but I wanted to tell you a little bit about it before we went on. So this one is going to be from the Shannon to the Thames. So you actually are going to start in Ireland, and then you'll make your way through Ireland, Northern Ireland, Scotland, and England. And this for 13 days, if you can be away for 13 days, this is an absolutely fantastic itinerary. Everybody who's done it really, really loves it that I've talked to. You get to see the Cliffs of Moher and the Ring of Kerry. There's a little bit more about the Book of Kells at Trinity College. And then we talked about Rathburn Farms because that's where I make the scones, but it's also a working farm. So you'll see how they give the sheep their little haircut, and you'll get to feed different animals on the farm if you want to, and you get to ask questions to the farmer about, how life is in this modern era and still being, on the farm taking care of these animals in this land. Now, the doors of Dublin, I don't know if you all know this story or not, but it is quite common that in the past, and I'd say to this day, that some people would have a really good time at the pub and they would forget their address. So the different houses, the different little shotgun houses, they would have different colored front doors so the husbands could find their way home. So that's kind of interesting. And then if you haven't been to the Titanic Museum, it is really quite interesting. And the style of that museum is supposed to look like icebergs. And then there is a statue of what was at the top of the ship. But what I love about this is really interesting. You are all assigned, when you go in, you're assigned a passenger, and then you get their name. And then throughout the exhibit, you see how you were affected, what happened. At the end, you find out if you survived it or not. Really quite an interesting way to see and to learn more about the Titanic. So those are some of the best itineraries that we have in Great Britain or the United Kingdom, or as easier to say, probably Scotland, Ireland, Wales, and England. So there are a couple of things I always want to remind you about, and your on-trip assurance is a very big part of who we are as a company. We want to make sure everybody is safe and we give them a warm welcome. We are still working through all the different rules and regulations, but we have people that's all they do all day long is work on where we can go and if we need to make a change. And that's really an important part of the puzzle, traveling in 2022 and in 2023. And we want to make sure that all of the guests, that you all have a wonderful time, and we're committed to the clean aspect. We always have been, but boy, oh boy, when you meet our drivers and they take a few minutes to, if you're off the bus for a few minutes, they will just wipe everything down. They take a great amount of pride in making sure that motor coach is in tip-top condition for you. And we'll continue to keep you abreast of our policies and changes. But the nice thing is the folks here at Cruise Holidays, they know exactly where to get the information to make sure that you're ready and prepared to travel. So I also want to talk about some special offers. We do have some air-inclusive departures with discounted airfare on selected tour dates. So intro to Ireland, we have several dates that are just $27.99 per person from certain gateways. Kansas City and St. Louis, there might be a little upcharge for you to do the air inclusive, but it's a fantastic deal. Also, Britain Sampler has a really nice air inclusive price of $31.49, and that's just a sample. And then of course, we also have the Cruise Holiday Exclusive, which is $100 off per couple. You just have to book by June 9th. And I will tell you, the other great thing is we have lots of different promos going on. And so depending on when you book, you might get an extra $200 off. There's a lot of different promos right now for 2022. And this is the year to go because 2023 is going to be crazy. So if you can plan to get away this fall or even late this summer, we have some availability for you as well. And don't forget to call the folks here at Cruise Holidays, and they are all top notch. I can't wait to catch up with everybody because I'm actually here in the office, but Mark and I can't be in the same room because we're like Batman and Robin, I guess. Well, that's what I have today. Mark, are you still around?
I am, and Robin, I wanted to tell you that I think you forgot one of the most important parts of why people should take the tours with the Globus family of brands, because um, you've told me years ago when you were in here doing training that you said, I can't begin to tell you how many marriages we've saved when they go on tours, because when they drive themselves in a place like those four countries, Ireland, Scotland, Wales, England, where they drive on the wrong side of the road, and the roads are very, very narrow. Remember, it's so old that, oh my gosh, when you're driving, you have to pay attention. And so,
Yes.
you know, the saying you said is so right, Robin. It's like on the Grand Canyon when you're like this, and your partner is going, oh my gosh, look at this. Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. Oh my gosh, you got to see this. I can't take my eyes off the road. Plus, the other thing is these driver guides, like you said, or drivers and guides, whichever, are so great that you
Mhm.
learn history and you learn the culture, you learn things that you would never learn on your own. So I think that is a big, big deal and a real plus. My counsel to everybody is there are so many options here, and we'll walk you through which one we feel is right for you based on what you tell us you're looking for. But a good rule of thumb is when you pay an airfare, the more days you can be gone, the more you get to see, and the more that air is depreciated out on a per day basis. I just think that makes all the sense in the world. And of course, those two departures or whatever they are with air included, that's even a better value. I mean, and airfare right now is really quite high for the most part because of the extreme demand for vacations all over the world, and a lot of times people are the number of air schedules are not as great as they were before the pandemic. So it is important to I'll say this two ways. It's important to make your decisions as soon as you can to get the best air schedules and pricing, but also we are great. Robin and I just talked about this earlier today in helping you find last minute itineraries.
Mhm.
If you can be flexible with us, we have the relationships and the contacts and the way to find availability in almost all circumstances. So I think that's a big deal. And Robin, I want to tell you, I think you've hit a home run with the Your Choice touring. I think that is just so great. It seems like the customer, maybe now more than ever before, is wanting choices. And how about
Mhm.
an opportunity when Mark gets to go golfing and Mimi gets to go to do whatever it is she wants to do that's not golfing? We are both happier that way. So I think that's
Most
just a home
definitely.
run, and my congratulations. I really wanted to say it to everybody. If Scotland is a place you'd like to go, and if you have not been to the military tattoo in August, you should honestly, it's a yearly thing. You should consider that very carefully if August will work for you for your vacation. Oh my gosh, I've been there twice. And we've taken, I bet you, 200 people to the military tattoo. And I got to tell you, we had grown men crying. We had everybody totally impressed with their experience there in Edinburgh, Scotland. That was just such a great experience. Robin, the other thing I'm really proud of Globus for doing is giving, again, people what they want, but well-traveled people that maybe have been to Ireland, Scotland, England 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. Those undiscovered itineraries will be so incredibly popular. By the way, we know that for sure because they've been popular in Italy and all the other places that Globus has done that. More and more people are wanting to see the countryside, wanting to see the smaller places, wanting to get a feel of culture as opposed to just history and things like that. So my most sincere congratulations. That's why we asked to have this get together today to share with you some of the options that are available internationally. It is always nice, obviously, when you go to some place and they speak the language. And yes, while the money is a different currency, people are always comfortable in these 3 countries. 4 countries with Wales. I haven't been there, but I'm sure they'd be comfortable there too. Robin, I think I just wanted to say, I think that this is great information to get people. I had to step out just for a second. There's somebody came. Did you talk about the smaller group opportunities, smaller touring?
Absolutely. So on average, our motor coaches carry anywhere on average about 32 passengers. We can take up to 44 if we need to, but typically it's an average of 32. But if that size is a little bit more, just you don't want to be with that large of a group, we also have group departures, and on average they're about 24 passengers, and we still use the big bus. So the great part for you is you can actually, still keep a little social distance. You'll still have a great time. You'll still make new friends. But if you just like being in a smaller group, maybe you don't like to be with large groups, this is a great way for you to travel. And everybody here at Cruise Holidays knows exactly when those dates are. So we want to take good care of them and make sure you get the type of tour that you want.
And Robin, we did have a question from John about the buses. Do the buses have Wi-Fi?
Yes, thank you for asking. So our coaches have Wi-Fi, complimentary Wi-Fi, as do our hotel partners. So you actually, if you download the app, it's called Go, Globus Go app or Avalon Go app, depending on the brand. You can download that before you go. It's Wi-Fi enabled, so it doesn't have to be on Wi-Fi to work. And in that app, it has your e-documents. It has an area where you can take pictures and then caption them so that you remember what they are. You can take the little notes, and it gives you other suggestions, but it also doesn't use up your data. So, it's a great feature for you to add, even if you're like, well, I don't think I'll look for everything on my phone. It's okay, just put it in there and you'll be surprised. It also has a GPS in there, so you can put in the address and get step-by-step instructions on how to get back to your hotel if you've been in the Temple Bar for a little too long. We would never do that.
Because the pubs are a big part of the overall experience. And I've heard that story, Robin, about the doors of Dublin, and I've also heard that golf invented, and matter of fact, it's hilarious because the Irish say golf was invented in Ireland. The Scots, of course, say golf was invented in Scotland. But the one thing they do agree on, and I'm sorry to have to say this, Robin, while you're on air with me, but golf, the name golf with those 4 individual letters stands for gentlemen only, ladies forbidden. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what I've heard. The other thing I've heard that, again, I don't know is true, is the reason why there's 18 holes on a golf course is because the Irish and the Scots would bring a bottle of whiskey, and they would have a shot at every hole. Well, 18 shots was all they could handle before the game was over with. So whether that's right or not, I don't know, but you'll hear a lot of stories like that. I do want to say the countryside is so beautiful. People that like scenery and like the culture, there is no destination like all 3 or 4 of those countries. Well, the history, as you probably know it, is in London. Gosh, but it's also in the big cities of Glasgow, Dublin, Ireland, and it's also in the little cities like Inverness. St. Andrews, of course, is an iconic place to go. But there's so much there in that area, and it's so popular right now. And as Robin said, just to give you a little idea, if you're planning your 2023 vacation or to get away yet this summer or in fall, it is our strongest recommendation to do that as quickly as you can. The pent-up demand for vacations is greater than we Robin's company, every company in the industry, our travel agency, it's greater than we guessed, and it will continue to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger as the COVID policies change and are relaxed, and hopefully will be ended shortly. All of those things are real important. But when that does happen, there will be another gigantic wave of travelers that will be coming about. Many of these countries, their policies are changing all the time now. Many unvaccinated people can go to different parts of the world, and that's opened up markets. So my point very simply is it's all supply and demand. So you're really dollars ahead, especially with a sale like this. to make your decisions as quickly as possible. And we're here to help you find which one is right for you and match you up with what's right and what we feel is best for you. It's your decision, but that's our job, is to counsel you to take this big wide world of vacations and get it funneled down into what's right for you. Robin, it's really, really important, isn't it, who you book with right now during this kind of risky time of travel with all the changing policies and protocols and procedures. It's who you book with is maybe more important now than ever before.
Absolutely. You know, and I can speak to the financial stability of our company. We are a fifth generation family owned business, and we are just one of their businesses, but they know this is a cycle and we will get out of this cycle. And they are there to make sure that all of our customers are taken care of. And then, of course, I know that, you know, you and Mimi run such a wonderful organization that between the two of us, we've got them covered, right?
Well, we really do. And Robin, you're in here training us all the time, and then our staff goes on these trips as often as possible so we can talk to you from firsthand experiences. That's how I know about the military tattoo and the doors of Dublin and the just all of it is just so incredible. And so whether you love history, whether you love scenery, honestly, scenery is great. Whether you love I call it the culture, because there's a culture feel. The culinary part is so uniquely different. You know, beer and whiskey is such a big part of their culture. If you're into whiskey, gosh, there's so many whiskey tastings all over. Matter of fact, I in Dublin, they've got that Guinness factory there, and that Guinness tour is just unbelievable. You'll learn so much about that. And then they have up on the top floor that 360-degree area where you can have a pint and watch the world go by. But I'll tell you, I had a chance with an incentive group to go to the Jameson whiskey factory, which is right there in Dublin. Oh my gosh, that's one of the best tours I've ever done. So you can learn a lot about all sorts of libations that have made, seriously, that's part of the history, part of the culture of that area of the world. But you know, Robin, the one thing I've never learned, especially in Scotland, is you know, when those men wear kilts, what do they wear under that? Nobody will tell you the truth.
Yeah, no, and I'm not in charge of that, Mark. I don't want to know what's down there.
Is that above your pay grade, or you'll stick with the history part of it? Well, anyway, Robin, thank you so much for joining us today, and I appreciate very much that $100 off per couple for booking through Cruise Holidays and Comfort Tours. Remember, book by June 9th. So we're here and available. We do business by appointments right now, and that has worked out very, very well for everybody. Appointments can be face-to-face. In fact, we have an in-person seminar coming up real quick. I'm so excited about that, actually, in about an hour, 45 minutes now. And we can meet have an appointment over the phone, or, you know, on the computer too, whichever you would like to do, a Zoom meeting. Okay, Robin, any other last minute words of wisdom?
Well, the one thing I do want to remind you is if you travel as a single, please call in to Cruise Holidays, because we do have some very special offers for our single travelers. So we want to make sure that you still get to see the world. And, you know, sometimes they have couples that get 2 rooms because one snores. Whatever you need, we'll help you out.
Yeah, and Robin, one real quick thing on that subject. Boy, your smaller tours of 2024, we have had a lot of grandparents, 3 generations take over a full bus. We've had a couple of families, 2 families that are very, very close, take over a full bus just for them. You know, think about 20 people, it can that can be filled up pretty quick, and it could be yours. I really like that idea. So Robin, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for sharing about this wonderful area of the world, and giving us the great value to offer to our clients. So please, we're here to help you any way we can and find what's right for you. Robin, thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Mark. Everybody have a great day.
Adios, everybody.